All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, hit the notification bell. We're back with another hot one. One that's going to piss you off. But there's a lot of pissed off people in the world. There's not much we could do about that, right? Don't forget to follow me for my car enthusiast stuff and events on Insta. Let's see what kind of transaction ATM machine that most married men are. I feel sorry for you guys. Poor bastards. Anyway, let's play the video.
I won't tolerate a man holding onto his money. When your salary comes in each month, it should be transferred to me without me having to ask. It's not the same when I have to ask you for it. You need to give it to me proactively. Do you understand? I've mentioned this to you multiple times, and I expect you to follow through. Whether I ask for your salary or you transfer it to me willingly, the result is the same.
You got that, boy? Listen to your woman. And this is a lot of y'all. This is a lot of y'all behind closed doors. Y'all want to talk all that shit to your family and friends that you the man of the house. You ain't shit, boy. You ain't shit. She flipping you around like a yo-yo. Stuck on the string, on the ball on the string.
So why not just transfer it to me and avoid making me upset? You know, when it comes to things for the kids, everything they use, isn't it all bought and chosen by me? Yes, I'm using your money, but I put the thought and effort into it.
Mr.
Oh, boy.
Sheng Zubao from Anhui was sued for divorce by his wife. He initially agreed to the divorce and was willing to give up everything, his car, his house. However, his wife, Ms. Yan Dongping, insisted on taking the case to court. After the divorce, she demanded that not only should Mr. Sheng leave with nothing, but also that he would forfeit custody and visitation rights to their children. She even required the children's biological father to cooperate in changing their surname. In a 7-minute court video, Ms. Yan took the stage alone, portraying herself as a victim. She spoke about how hard her life had been, raising the children and managing the mortgage and car payments alone. She presented herself as the sole provider of the family, winning initial sympathy from viewers online. However, Mr. Sheng's 20-second statement turned the situation on its head. For 5 years, he had worked away from home and sent Ms. Yan 8,000 yuan each month for living expenses. Over the years, this totaled 500,000 yuan, yet Ms. Yan claimed that the money Mr. Sheng sent was now hers, and she used it to pay off the mortgage and car loan, insisting it had nothing to do with him. The court's final decision sparked controversy. Mr. Sheng left with nothing, losing his assets and custody of the children.
So I don't understand. What's the problem? There was enough money to go around. No matter how much money you make, you still can't make her happy.
Only his visitation rights remained. In the end, Ms. Yan looked toward the camera with a victorious smile. May all Chinese men avoid encountering a woman like Yan Dongping in their lifetime.
有房有车，这个是比较基本的。然后年薪的话，我希望可能是30加左右吧。
A handsome young man, 18 years old, with neither a car nor a house. When on his first blind date, he immediately fell for a rather average-looking woman working at a state-owned enterprise. However, when the girl learned that the young man earned just over 2,000 a month and didn't work for a state-owned company, her expression instantly soured. The young man, who had believed his good looks could easily cover up his shortcomings, was taken aback. Little did he know, the girl was far more discerning than he had imagined. The young man, named Xiao Dong, is currently a safety officer at his company. While his income is modest, it gives him more time to invest in himself. Apart from working out and having fun, he also runs a guest house in his spare time. Thanks to his business acumen, he managed to grow the business from a few rooms to a larger scale. But now,
Good for him. That's progress. But see, most women will overlook the progress and be like, no, he needs to be at the top right now. Otherwise, can't deal with you.
he's down to just one room, on the brink of bankruptcy.
Uh-oh.
So he decided to find a woman to help him make a comeback. However,
That's pookie behavior. Anytime a man is looking for a woman's help, it usually doesn't end too well. I mean, shit, you could ask your mama for help, your grandmother for help, but you asking for a significant...
when the matchmaker asked about his intentions for marriage, he hesitated. Xiao Dong understood that, compared to the rich and handsome men, he had no competitive edge. His conditions were lacking, so he decided to lower his expectations. As long as the girl was unmarried and single, at least 165 centimeters tall, and looked decent, he would not refuse anyone upon hearing his request. The matchmaker immediately sprang into action and quickly arranged a meeting. The woman, Xiao Yu, is 31 years old and works at a state-owned company. The moment they met, she was drawn to Xiao Dong's handsome appearance, but to take things further, she needed to assess his abilities. The seemingly light conversation was actually full of subtle probing. In just a few questions, the girl quickly figured out his education and income. Seeing his expression grow more serious, Xiao Dong hurriedly talked about his hobbies and experiences. But these shallow claims didn't help his cause. In the end, the girl said, while she admired Xiao Dong's courage, she preferred men with an annual salary of at least 300,000.
看到一个话题啊，
Well, so basically he didn't have a chance. He wasted his time. Wow. Poor guy.
说我们这个社会，一个男人只要失业了，他的老婆就一定会跟他离婚。
In China, if a man loses his job, his wife will almost certainly divorce him.
And it's like that almost anywhere in the world, especially here in the West. The same thing. You lose that executive title, you lose your wife, the dog, the kids, and the house. Back to a one-bedroom apartment if you could afford it. Man, you guys are in serious trouble. If all you have is your job for income, it's just bad.
It's a harsh reality. But why is this the case? Logically, even if a man becomes unemployed, he was likely good to his wife before that, wasn't he? He probably handed over his salary card, was attentive, and did everything to please her, and that's precisely where the problem lies from the very beginning. By handing over his salary card and being overly accommodating, the man assumes the role of a workhorse, an ATM, and a tool in the marriage. Over time, the wife becomes accustomed to this dynamic and starts to see him purely as a provider, an ATM. But one day, when he can no longer fulfill even that role, when the ATM runs out of money, what happens? From a human nature perspective, she's already conditioned to see him as nothing more than a source of financial support. If that value disappears, divorce becomes inevitable. Why? Because people fear losing what they already have more than they desire to gain something new. This is why I always emphasize to my fellow men, after marriage, don't hand over your salary card. Don't become merely a provider or an ATM. You might be able to support her for a while, but can you support her for a lifetime? Can you guarantee that you'll never lose your job or experience a drop in income? That's why it's crucial for men to learn how to guide their wives in a marriage. If you want...
See, y'all be over trusting. That's why y'all be losing with these females. Y'all just put too much trust in them and don't have nothing else going on but your job and your wife. It's really a sad outcome. That's why it's important for you guys to also focus on your hobbies and everything else and make sure you have good social connections and everything. Because see, if all you have going on is your wife, your kids, it's like pretty much look at your household full of liabilities. And those liabilities rely no more than you. So not only do you have a house full of liabilities, whatever woman you married to is probably relying on you to help her family out too. So this is why women don't get with broke guys. They get with top tier guys, so then that top tier guy can help her family come up too as well. But a lot of people aren't looking at it this way. They just think that these women are so in love with him, and then the minute the guy loses something or is down bad or breaks a leg or loses his job or gets demoted or something, he's looked at as less of a man.
Want a lasting marriage, you must lead your wife to contribute to the relationship, set boundaries, be the head of the household. Never let your wife assume that role. As the saying goes, when a woman runs the house, the walls crumble and the roof collapses. Look at those cases of families being scammed over the phone. It often happens when the woman controls the finances. The same goes for women who cheat or misuse their husband's hard-earned money. This should serve as a wake-up call for us men. Another reason women leave men when they lose their money is that, for many modern marriages, the relationship is nothing more than a transaction in the eyes of the woman. From the start, it's all about calculation, gains and losses. Many women today enter marriage only looking to take, not to give. Why? Because they consume too much toxic advice. So many voices encourage women to put themselves first. Combine that with thousands of years of Confucian culture and the remnants of patriarchal attitudes, and we have a problem. While women may no longer bind their feet, their thinking is often shackled. This reveals the failure of moral education and a decline in societal values. Many women loudly proclaim themselves to be independent and successful modern women, but deep down, they still seek to rely on men. This dependency manifests in demands for high dowries, control of their husbands, income, and expectations of constant support. This is not just a personal issue. It's a societal problem and a failure of parenting. After all, The future of a nation is determined by its women. But what kind of future can we expect when women are raised to be this way? Unsurprisingly, divorce rates are rising, birth rates are falling, and marriage rates are plummeting. For my fellow men watching this, we can't change the larger environment, but we can do two things: choose wisely before marriage. If a woman expects to move in with nothing while you bear all the financial burden, avoid marrying her at all costs. Such relationships often end with you losing both your money and your dignity.
And see, the problem is most guys ignore simple red flags. Those simple red flags are actually big red flags, but you're so in love with the girl that you'll just ignore it and figure everything will be okay and things will just work out on their own over time. But you don't know a person until you move in with them, let alone have kids with them. Damn. And then once you marry them, you're stuck with them until you get a divorce, which that takes time too. So it's quicker to jump up and get married than it is than to get divorced. So it's like people forget that a marriage is just a contract, and a marriage pretty much to a woman is pretty much just business, just the ATM transaction. So yeah, that's sad.
Control after marriage. Don't blindly sacrifice and play the good man who only earns and provides. Change the traditional mindset that men are solely responsible for supporting the family. Guide your wife to contribute. Instead of shouldering everything yourself, marriage should be a partnership, not a one-sided sacrifice.
When women don't spend a dime on blind dates yet call the men stingy, that's downright shameless. Blind dating is essentially a large-scale screening process. According to traditional norms, men are expected to pay on the first date, but as the number of dates increases, so does the cost. If a woman isn't contributing financially, she has no grounds to criticize the man for being cheap. The important point here is that men aren't being stingy, they just don't want to waste money unnecessarily. Blind dating is an investment, and like any investment, it comes with risks. Spending money on a massage offers tangible relaxation, and buying a game skin gives you something exclusive to enjoy. But spending money on a date? If both parties feel a connection, then it's worth it. However, if there's no spark, that money might as well have been thrown away. It's no different from watching it go down the drain.
I mean, you better off going to the casino and trying to flip that money. Because a lot of people are saying hell with going out on a date. Look how expensive it is to go out to eat at a restaurant with all the high expensive tipping percentages and everything. It's like, see, here in the West, everything is almost a ripoff. So when you go out to eat just for two people, you're going to spend over $100 plus the taxes and everything. So it's crazy. And then tack in gas, parking, everything costs. So none of this stuff is free. That's why people don't go out to the clubs and stuff no more. They figure it's not even worth spending the money on.
A 38-year-old woman named Xiao Yu, determined to motivate her boyfriend's ambition, rejected his marriage proposals a staggering 8 times. When her boyfriend eventually walked away and married someone else, Xiao Yu was devastated upon receiving his wedding invitation. Overcome with grief, she accused him of being unfaithful and caused a scene at his wedding. Xiao Yu shared her story, explaining that she had been in a relationship with her boyfriend for over 8 years.
Xiao Ye, I'm your man. I'm your lover.
During that time, he proposed to her 8 times. However, Xiao Yu, dissatisfied with his modest profession as a teacher and his current financial situation, rejected him each time. She believed that refusing his proposals would push him to achieve greater success. Her plan was to accept his proposal only when he could afford a luxury car and a villa. Throughout their relationship.
Only? Did I just hear only? Only when he can afford a luxury car and a luxury apartment. You can't have a luxury car without a luxury apartment. We all know you don't have money for a house, so you could at least get a luxury apartment.
Her boyfriend treated her with utmost care, holding her hand while walking, feeding her during meals, and showering her with affection. However, after his 8th proposal was turned down, his attitude shifted dramatically. Months of silence followed. When Xiao Yu finally heard from him again, it was through a wedding invitation. He was marrying someone else. Distraught and furious, Xiao Yu was overcome with emotion. She even contemplated drastic measures, crying by a riverbank until reporters intervened to console her. Determined to win him back and resume the life he once provided, she tracked him down at the school,
Where's she at? I'll take her. Matter of fact, I'll get my truck out the shop. Somebody send her to SFO. I gotta go pick her up.
he worked. Unfortunately, her ex-boyfriend had already taken leave to prepare for his wedding. Refusing to leave, Xiao Yu's persistence forced the school principal to notify her ex-boyfriend. When he arrived with his older brother, tensions quickly escalated. The brother criticized Xiao Yu, pointing out her age and questioning why she still acted as if she were a young girl in her prime. He added that their relationship had no future after 8 years of rejected proposals.
Who the hell proposes 8 times? Oh man, that's some stalker shit right there. I mean, you didn't learn your lesson after the first time? Sounds like somebody didn't have no options.
In a desperate attempt to gain sympathy, Xiao Yu tearfully claimed she was 2 months pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's child,
Whoa.
producing a hospital report as evidence. However, her ex-boyfriend firmly denied the claim, stating they hadn't been intimate for 6 months. He demanded a paternity test to prove her story. Xiao Yu's dreams of wealth and luxury, he explained.
I explain, anytime a couple is expecting a child, that should be an automatic paternity test. Legally, that should be the law. But a lot of women are against this. What kind of world do we live in, people?
Were unattainable on his modest teacher's salary. When the situation grew heated, reporters stepped in and escorted Xiao Yu away, but Xiao Yu wasn't ready to give up. The very next day, she defied the reporters' advice and stormed her ex-boyfriend's wedding. Her disruptive behavior was quickly curtailed by the groom's family. As she watched the newlyweds drive away, Xiao Yu finally left, defeated and heartbroken. I just came across a video posted by a woman, and the gist of it was this. She said her husband is very similar to Yan Dongping's husband, working away from home and sending money back to the family every month. However, this month, after hearing about the Yan Dongping incident, her husband started to panic. He called her and said that from now on, he would only send half the money home, just enough for daily expenses. The rest, he said, he would save for himself. The woman seemed helpless, saying she never thought the Yan Dongping incident would affect her directly. Initially, I hadn't planned to discuss the Yan Dongping case, but after hearing this woman's story, I realized just how significant the impact of this incident is. The reality is that countless working-class families operate in the same way as Yan Dongping and her husband.
Yeah, but working away from home is just fuel to the fire. Most likely there's going to be infidelity and the possibility of children not being yours. So that would always be a bad marriage, a bad household, where one of the spouses is always out away working and just sending money back home because they're too tied up with work to be at home. So that's an automatic failure right there.
The wife stays at home taking care of the children, while the husband works far away, sending money home every month. If we compare the seriousness of different cases, the Yan Dongping incident might not seem as extreme as the infamous 3 kids not biologically his case. However, in terms of impact, the Yan Dongping case is far more significant. When men hear about the 3 kids case, their reaction is one of morbid curiosity. Most people see it as a rare, almost unbelievable event, something that's unlikely to happen to them.
Until it does happen to them. That's the problem. Too many people think that they're invisible, and then when this shit happens to them, they're just like so flabbergasted. I'm like, yeah, you're human just like everybody else. Oh my God.
But the Yan Dongping case hits differently. It's a scenario that feels much more probable, making men genuinely fearful. It's the kind of situation where they can easily imagine themselves as the next victim. At its core, people empathize more with those in similar circumstances. The Yan Dongping incident is about a stay-at-home wife with a car, a house, elderly parents to care for, and children to raise. How did she manage to pay off the car loan and mortgage while her husband was away working? Many hardworking families in China face comparable situations. The husband works far from home, sometimes not returning for years. While sending money back to support the household, the wife stays behind, caring for the children and the elderly, with her biggest hope each year being her husband's return.
Yeah, that's just like the military boys, the original passport bros. This is where passport bros come in at. So the original passport bros that actually had wives back home, what do you think that they were doing once they went overseas? They're at karaoke bars to release, trying not to develop PTSD. So they tried to have fun as much as they could, or they got to the closest fun they could have, which is being around other humans, especially women, attractive looking women in gorgeous dresses, red and white dresses, in these lounges, massage parlors. What do you think? So basically, these men that only return home twice a year, they're pretty much having affairs too, as much as the wife is. So they're wondering how she was able to pay off the car and the home. She probably had other guys triggering on her. It's common sense. There's other men involved. You're never the only one, especially when you're never around each other. Both of y'all are probably cheating. So there's nothing to really be mad about. The only thing you should be mad about is out of 5 kids, 3 of them ain't yours.
This arrangement is meant to be a virtuous cycle. The husband earns the money, and the wife takes care of the home and children. But now, this seemingly stable system is overshadowed by a widespread, toxic example. The husband earns money to support the family, while the wife betrays him, forcing him out of the house with nothing, changing the children's last name, and,
Whoa.
in some cases, revealing the children aren't even biologically his. What's worse is that the betrayer faces no consequences, and when betrayal goes unpunished, the moral fabric of society deteriorates rapidly. If men shoulder their responsibilities and obligations only to end up with such an outcome, many will simply choose not to get married at all. This is the harsh reality the Yan Dongping case has exposed, shaking the foundation of trust in many marriages.
And see, that's why a lot of y'all come up missing too. Y'all just got too many skeletons in y'all closets. And then when that shit comes to light, the next thing you know, you end up missing. You return home to a whole family that's been deleted. All caused by your fuckery. That's your damn fault.
扎心的事实，男人的收入中断超过1年以上，离婚率高达85%。
If a man's income stops for more than a year, the divorce rate skyrockets to 85%. Surprisingly,
What did you just say? A year? Shit, that's too long. Let alone 2 months is done. He tripping.
this has little to do with how much the man was earning before. Once the
Oh.
income dries up and the family can no longer maintain its previous standard of living, the outcome in most cases is a broken home. Over the past 2 or 3 years, most of the divorced families I've come across had one thing in common. The man once had a high income, but due to certain circumstances, his income either stopped or dropped significantly, and the marriage fell apart. On the other hand, couples who've consistently earned modest, steady incomes, just a few thousand yuan a month, tend to have more stable marriages. The reason is simple. When a high-quality lifestyle suddenly declines, it triggers a strong sense of loss aversion. This leads to negative emotions within the household, and over time, the relationship crumbles. There's a saying that goes, families where the wife manages the money are usually happier. Is this true? Statistically, yes, but if you dig deeper, the reasoning behind it can be sobering. Typically, families where the husband manages the money are those with significant wealth. Families where the wife manages the money are often living paycheck to paycheck, unless the wife is the primary breadwinner. If the household income only covers basic necessities like food and utilities, it doesn't really matter who manages the money. In fact, handing over the responsibility to the wife can be a relief for the husband. But in families with millions in assets, how many men would willingly let their wives manage all the finances? The saying about
Wait a minute. So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing this right, he's saying that most of these people live paycheck to paycheck anyway, versus the people that have other investments. Basically, they have money coming in from investments and everything else. Do you really want the wives to handle all that too as well? Or do you want them just handling just what the man brings in from his job? I think I heard that right. I don't feel like rewinding back. But wow, that's pretty interesting. So basically, it's less of a burden, being that the man has all these liabilities of his family and the household. The wife pretty much should be the one going to Costco and everything and spending the money, buying whatever the house needs. The man just goes to work and come home and everything's already taken care of. If it's like that, then yeah, okay, I can see that. But if the man is still doing everything else when he comes home, then hell no.
about wives managing money being tied to happier families is actually a case of reversing cause and effect. It's because there isn't much money to manage in the first place that the wife is put in charge, and because their income is consistently modest, their risk of divorce is relatively low from the perspective of marital stability. Jobs like civil servants and university teachers are incredibly valuable. Their incomes might not compare to those outside the system, but they're reliable, and steady. When these couples first formed their families, financial stability, not high income, was the main attraction. With no inflated expectations and no drastic changes, these marriages are more likely to endure. Interestingly, in many cases, men in these professions hand over financial control to their wives. This isn't because they have excessive wealth, but because their steady, unchanging financial situation fosters stability and ultimately longevity in their marriages.
我发现每一次相亲对我的内心精神都是一次巨大的摧残。
Every time I go on a blind date, it feels like a massive blow to my mental and emotional well-being. Modern women, especially those like me in our 30s who are independent, don't place such heavy emphasis on material conditions anymore. Close enough is good enough. What we care more about now is a man's appearance and presentation. Take today's date, for example. The guy was wearing a sweater with a black collar and green stripes, the kind my dad would wear. The sweater was pilling, and the sleeves looked so worn they had a kind of sheen to them. His glasses were chipped around the edges, and his back pocket was bulging awkwardly. I couldn't tell if he was wearing thermal pants underneath or if it was just the shape of his trousers, but the overall look reminded me of something out of Cow, that film with Juan Bo and Yen and I. Meanwhile, I made an effort. I don't even like wearing makeup, but I put on a full face. I washed my hair, cleaned up my appearance, and dragged myself out of bed on my only day off this week just to meet this guy. And what do I get? Sure, he's supposedly earning hundreds of thousands a year, and his house is worth millions, but what does that have to do with me? Women like me are very clear-headed about these things. Premarital assets are premarital assets. I don't want his money, nor do I want to be treated like I'm after it. Honestly, I'd rather not deal with someone like that. It's not about the money. It's about whether I can picture myself with him. Even if he earns less than I do, I can accept that, but at least put some effort into your appearance. The matchmaker already gave me the rundown of his financial situation. I didn't come out for that.
See, that's what I don't like. These matchmakers. So basically, these men are being objectified on the fact of what income that they're making. So basically, it sounds like she's not a gold digger, which is surprisingly, and she's not looking for somebody that's going to take care of her. She just wants somebody that actually cares about their appearance. I mean, both of these people sound like they're well made. She could support herself and he could support herself. So what is there to lose? There's not really much competition then.
I came to see if there's any spark, to figure out if I could feel something for him, if he's someone I'd want to kiss or wake up next to. That's all it comes down to. And yet, time and again, I'm left disappointed.
Uh-oh. What we do need to hear is most millennials and the next generation above don't have enough money to take care of themselves, let alone a family anyway. So a lot of these millennials and Gen Zers are not going to get married anyway, so they don't really have much to worry about. And we'll pretty much wrap it up right here. This is Kai the Veil. I know this was a little longer, but it was just an interesting video. I had to keep going on. And I'll catch you on the next video. Happy MLK Day. Peace.
Thank you.